Ever noticed how eager we are to share our goals with others? But have you ever stopped to think about the impact of this seemingly harmless habit? It's a curious thing, isn't it? We get a brilliant idea, a lofty goal, and our first instinct is to tell someone, anyone, about it. But a fascinating study back in 2009 suggests that maybe we should think twice before we do. Here's the scoop. A group of researchers gathered 163 people and asked them to jot down a personal goal. Half of them were then asked to announce their commitment to this goal to the room. The other half remained silent. Everyone was then given 45 minutes to work on their goal, with the option to stop at any time. Now here's where it gets interesting. The group that kept their goals to themselves worked, on average, for the full 45 minutes. When asked about their progress, they were realistic, acknowledging that they had a lot more work to do before they completed their goal. On the flip side, the group that had announced their goals quit after an average of 33 minutes, and their perception of progress? Way off. Most of them were convinced they were close to completing their goal, even though they had worked less time and, in reality, were not nearly as close as they thought. The researchers concluded that this discrepancy was because of a little something they called a premature sense of completion. The act of declaring the goal gave these people a rush, a feeling of having already accomplished something, even though they hadn't actually done anything yet. Imagine someone who wants to run a marathon. They tell everyone about it, get lots of encouragement, and feel great. But then, they don't train as hard as they should. They've already got that feeling of accomplishment, and their brain mistakes the talking for the doing. Seems counterintuitive, doesn't it? But let's dive deeper to understand the psychology behind this phenomenon. When it comes to goal setting and achievement, people generally fall into one of four categories. First up, we've got the talkative dreamers. You know the type. They're the ones who will tell you all about their plans to write a novel, start a business, or run a marathon. They'll lay out their strategies in detail, their eyes shining with excitement. But when it comes to actually doing the work, they're nowhere to be found. They're too busy dreaming and talking about their goals to actually roll up their sleeves and get down to business. It's like they're more in love with the idea of achieving the goal rather than the effort it takes to get there. Next, we have the silent dreamers. They're a bit like the talkative dreamers, except they keep their dreams to themselves. They have grand plans and high hopes, but they don't feel the need to broadcast them to the world. But like the talkative dreamers, they too struggle to convert their dreams into action. They might spend hours daydreaming about their goals, but when it comes to taking the first step, they're stuck. Their dreams remain just that, dreams. The third type of people in our lineup are the proclaiming doers. These folks have goals, and they're not afraid to let everyone know about them. But unlike the talkative dreamers, they actually follow through. They're the ones who announce they're going to run a marathon and then actually do it. They thrive on the accountability that comes from their public declarations. They use the expectations of others as a motivating tool to push themselves forward. But sometimes, their desire to impress can overshadow the intrinsic value of their goals. Lastly, we have the silent doers. These are the quiet achievers. They set goals, work diligently towards them, but don't feel the need to broadcast their intentions. They're not interested in applause or validation. For them, the satisfaction comes from the work itself and the personal accomplishment they feel when they reach their goal. They're like ninjas, operating stealthily in the background, only revealing their victories when they've been achieved. Each of these types has a unique approach to goal setting and achievement, with varying degrees of success. The talkative dreamers and silent dreamers, with their lack of action, often find their goals slipping away. The proclaiming doers, while achieving their goals, may find less personal satisfaction due to their dependency on external validation. The silent doers, on the other hand, often derive the most satisfaction from their achievements, as their motivations are deeply personal and intrinsic. But what does this mean for you? Well, understanding these types can help you identify your own approach to goal setting and achievement. Are you a dreamer who needs to focus more on action, or a doer who needs to reassess the motivations behind your goals? Identifying your type is the first step towards improving your approach and ultimately achieving your goals. Remember, it's not about fitting neatly into one category or another. It's about understanding your tendencies and using that knowledge to your advantage. After all, we all have dreams and goals. The key is finding the right approach to turn those dreams into reality. Each of these types has a unique approach to goal setting and achievement, with varying degrees of success. But what does this mean for you? Let's unpack the effects of sharing goals on our motivation and progress. Ever wondered why some people, brimming with excitement, announce their ambitious plans, say to run a marathon, write a book, or start a business, but then, seemingly out of nowhere, their enthusiasm evaporates? Well, it turns out there's a psychological explanation for this phenomenon. When we openly share our goals, we may inadvertently trick our brains into believing we've already accomplished them. This is known as social reality, a term coined by psychologist Peter Gollwitzer. Let's picture a scenario. Meet Jane, a diligent student with an ambitious goal to ace her final exams. She's so pumped about her study plan that she shares it with her friends, family, and even posts about it on social media. The likes, comments, and words of encouragement start pouring in. Jane feels a surge of satisfaction. In her mind, she's already halfway up the mountain. But then something peculiar happens. The next day, Jane finds herself procrastinating more than studying. The pressure to live up to the expectations she's set is overwhelming. It feels as if she's already run the race, and now she's just too exhausted to actually study. This brings us to another psychological factor at play: social pressure. When we broadcast our goals, we're not just dealing with our own expectations, but also those of others. The fear of disappointing others can either motivate us to work harder or paralyze us into inaction. For many, it's the latter. Now, let's be clear. This isn't a one-size-fits-all theory. Some people thrive on public commitments. They feed off the pressure and use it as fuel to drive them forward. But for others, that same pressure can be crippling. The important takeaway here is to understand how you personally react to sharing your goals. If you find that sharing your intentions leads to inaction or stress, it might be best to keep them to yourself. So, the next time you're tempted to share your goals, remember, silence can be a powerful tool. Now that we understand the potential pitfalls of sharing our goals, what's the best way to approach goal setting and achievement? An engaging question to ponder, isn't it? Let's delve into this. First and foremost, focus on the process rather than the outcome. It's easy to get caught up in the big picture, the final result, the grand finale. But the magic, my friends, happens in the journey. It's the small steps you take every day that lead to the monumental triumphs. So instead of fixating on the finish line, cherish the race. Celebrate each stride, each hurdle overcome, each moment of resilience. Next, keep your goals private until they're achieved. It's alluring to share our dreams and aspirations, to let them sparkle in the daylight for all to see. But remember the power of silence we discussed earlier? It's about using that silence as a beacon, guiding us through the murky waters of doubt, fear, and procrastination. When your goal is achieved, let your success make the noise. However, this doesn't mean you should isolate yourself completely. Seek accountability, but in a supportive and non-judgmental way. Find a trusted confidant, a mentor, a coach, someone who can provide constructive feedback without diminishing your drive. This person should be someone who understands your journey, respects your silence, and celebrates your progress. Remember, goal setting isn't a one-size-fits-all approach. It's a personal journey, unique to each individual. Some might find motivation in sharing their goals, while others thrive in silence. The key is to understand what works best for you, to tune into your inner compass and let it guide you towards your true north. In the end, it's not about keeping secrets, but about harnessing the power of silence to fuel our progress. It's about understanding the subtle difference between talking the talk and walking the walk. So, as we tread forward on this journey of self-improvement, let's remind ourselves of a simple, timeless truth. Actions speak louder than words.